Okay, in this video, I want to talk about alignment. And by alignment, I mean where in the cell the text is located. Along the right side, the left side, up, down, middle, center, those type of things. So let's head up here to the top. And from this same OpenPyExcel.styles, we also want to import alignment. And this will allow us to align things however we want. So let's come down here, and now we can set our cell.alignment and set that equal to alignment. And again, this is a function. And this one basically only has two arguments, horizontal and vertical. Right? So here are the main options you have for horizontal. You have left, you have right, you have center, and you have a few more that we're not really going to look at because they're not very useful, but I'll mention them. You have justify, and you have center continuous. You also have fill and general. Now, these guys here at the end, they're not very useful, and they're only used in very, very specific cases that you probably won't ever deal with. So we're going to look at left, right, center, and justify. So as far as vertical, your options are top, bottom, center, distributed, and justify. And again, these last two aren't very common or used very often, so mostly you're looking at top, bottom, and center. So let's take a look at these, and let's start with horizontal. And horizontal is left to right, like along the horizon. Vertical is up and down. And remember, with our A2 cell, it's really big, so we have a lot of room for different types of alignment. So let's start out by giving this a horizontal alignment of right and a vertical alignment of bottom. It was already on the bottom just by default, and we'll just leave this as it is. So let's go ahead and save this, and let's head back over here and run our file again. And then let's open up our pizza3.xlsx. And we can see now it's vertically aligned. This something is over on the far right side because we put it on the right side. Now let's get rid of this strike, and let's also change this font size to 12 so it's smaller so we can more easily see it move around. So we have right, we can also go left. If we save this and run it, and then open our pizza3.xls file, now it's on the left, right? Let's close this. And then finally we can do center. Let's go ahead and save this, run it, and open our file again. And as you would expect, it's now in the center. And now notice it's also here in the bottom, right? So we can change the vertical alignment up and down to whatever we want. So let's go ahead and close this. And like I mentioned, there are these other things too. You can play with them if you want, but they're not really useful, and you won't hardly even notice them if you try and use them. So, all right, now we're doing bottom for vertical alignment. Now let's change this to top. Go ahead and save this, run it, open up our pizza3 file, and now our something is up here at the top of the cell. Very cool. If we close this and now change this to, for instance, center, we can go ahead and save this and run it again. And let's open this guy one more time. And now it's in the center vertically and also horizontally. So very, very cool. So if we close this, for instance, and if we just pick another one of these that I mentioned, for instance, this distributed. So if we pick distributed, I think I misspelled it over here. There we go. Save this and run it. And then open our file again. You can see it's still in the middle. Distributed just means basically centered. Now, one interesting thing here is if you can't memorize these things, and you probably won't, you could just type in anything, just T. If we save this now and run it, we're going to get an error message, and it's going to say, hey, the value must be either center, top, bottom, justify, or distributed. So it kind of tells you, exactly what your options are. That's a good way to sort of, if you forget what your options are for these things, just type in anything and see if the error message will tell you what your options are. But these are the main ones: left, right, and center, top, bottom, and center. And if you think about a cell, these sort of make sense. The cell vertically has a top and a bottom and a center. Horizontally, it has a left and a right and a center. And that's pretty straightforward. So that's all for this video. In the next video, we'll look at filling cell patterns.